In the fog-choked heart of 1920s and London, a jeweler lies dead inside a locked safe, a priceless sapphire, the star of Lahore, stolen. Hercule Poirot, with his razor-sharp mind, unravels a web of greed and deceit. A cunning partner, a calculating lady, a loyal guard, each hides a secret. How did a killer enter a sealed vault, murder, and vanish with a gem? In the midnight vault, every clue glints with danger, and only Poirot's little grey cells can unlock the truth. Will you follow the trail? Chapter 1. The Locked Enigma. The November fog draped London like a conspirator's cloak, muffling the clatter of hansoms and the distant cries of newsboys. In his pristine flat at Whitehaven Mansions, Hercule Poirot sat in an armchair, his small, precise hands cradling a steaming cup of tisane. The room was a study in symmetry. Books aligned with military precision, a silver clock ticking with metronomic calm, and a fire casting a warm glow on the polished mahogany. Captain Hastings, sprawled on the sofa with a novel, glanced at Poirot, whose eyes gleamed with restless intelligence despite the late hour. "Mon ami," Poirot said, breaking the silence, "does the quiet not oppress you? The mind, it craves a problem, a puzzle to unravel." Before Hastings could reply, a sharp rap echoed from the door. He rose, adjusting his tie, and admitted Inspector Japp of Scotland Yard. The inspector's face was drawn, his overcoat damp from the fog. "Monsieur Poirot," he said without preamble, "I'm in a devil of a fix. A murder at Grayson's Jewellers on Bond Street. The owner's dead, locked in his own safe, and a gem's gone missing. I need those little grey cells of yours." Poirot's moustache quivered, a sure sign of intrigue. "A safe, you say? Locked from within, yet a man is dead. C'est extraordinaire. Tell me more, my dear Japp." Japp mopped his brow. "Alistair Grayson, the jeweller, found at midnight by the night guard, shot through the head, and the star of Lahore, a sapphire worth a fortune, stolen. The safe was sealed tighter than a drum. No way in or out." Poirot set down his tisane, his green eyes alight. A sealed vault, a dead man, and a missing jewel. This is a challenge worthy of Hercule Poirot. Hastings, fetch my coat. We depart at once. The trio navigated the fog-choked streets, arriving at Grayson's Jewellers, a bastion of opulence amid Bond Street's elegance. Its windows sparkled with diamonds and emeralds, each gem a silent promise of wealth. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of beeswax and tragedy. Policemen moved with hushed efficiency, their lanterns casting eerie shadows. At the rear of the shop stood the safe, a towering steel monolith, its door now ajar, revealing the grim tableau within. Alistair Grayson lay slumped against the safe's inner wall, his once fastidious suit crumpled, a dark stain spreading from a neat bullet hole in his temple. His eyes, wide and unseeing, stared into eternity. Poirot knelt beside the body, his gloved fingers tracing the air above the wound. "A single shot, most precise," he murmured. "No signs of struggle. The weapon, Inspector?" "Gone," Japp replied. "Not a trace. No fingerprints, no powder burns on the walls. The safe's clean as a whistle." Poirot rose, his gaze sweeping the vault's interior. Its steel walls gleamed, unmarred by scratches or dents. Shelves held velvet trays, some empty, others cradling lesser gems that winked in the lantern light. "The lock," Poirot said. "It wasn't forced." "Not a mark," Japp confirmed. "The guard, Jenkins, found it locked at midnight. Took a locksmith and 2 constables to pry it open. Grayson was dead, the star gone." Poirot's fingers brushed his moustache. "And who, pray, had access to this fortress?" Japp ticked off the names. Victor Hammond, Grayson's business partner. Lady Margaret Vane, a client who commissioned the star's setting. And Jenkins, the night guard. That's the lot. Poirot nodded, his mind already weaving a tapestry of possibilities. A puzzle, Hastings, he said, turning to his friend. A man dies in a sealed chamber. A gem vanishes, and yet the killer walks free. We must seek the truth, not in the metal, but in the hearts of those who coveted it. Hastings shivered, though whether from the cold or the scene, he could not say. It's impossible, Poirot. No one could enter a locked safe, kill a man, and escape. Impossible? Poirot's smile was enigmatic. Non, mon ami. The impossible is merely that which we do not yet understand. Order and method shall reveal all. Chapter 2. The Scene of the Crime. The fog outside Grayson's jewellers clung to the windows like a shroud, its tendrils seeping through the cracks of London's night, as if eager to witness the grim drama within. Hercule Poirot stood in the heart of the shop, his small, meticulous figure dwarfed by the opulence around him. The air was heavy with the scent of polished oak and the faint metallic tang of tragedy. Crystal chandeliers cast a soft glow over display cases, where diamonds and sapphires gleamed like captive stars. Yet the true spectacle lay at the rear of the shop, where the great steel safe stood, its door yawning open to reveal the lifeless form of Alistair Grayson. Poirot's green eyes, sharp as cut emeralds, surveyed the scene with a precision that missed nothing. The safe was a marvel of engineering, its walls a seamless fortress of steel designed to thwart even the most cunning thief. Its interior, lined with black velvet, was a stark contrast to the crumpled figure within. Grayson, a man in his late 50s, lay slumped against the back wall, his once impeccable suit now a crumpled testament to mortality. A single bullet hole marred his temple, the wound clean and precise, with a trickle of dried blood tracing a path to his collar. His face, frozen in a mask of surprise, seemed to demand answers from the silent vault. Inspector Japp, his coat still damp from the fog, stood beside Poirot, his notebook open, but his expression one of baffled frustration. "It's a right mess, Monsieur Poirot," he said, his voice low to avoid disturbing the constables, who moved with hushed efficiency around the shop. "Grayson, dead as a doornail, locked in his own safe. The Star of Lahore, worth a king's ransom, gone. And not a clue how it was done." Poirot tilted his head, his moustache twitching as if in silent dialogue with his thoughts. A safe, you say, locked from within, and yet a man is dead, and a gem is missing. This is not merely a crime, Inspector, but a performance, a carefully staged act. We must uncover the script. Captain Hastings, standing a few paces back, adjusted his scarf against the chill that seemed to emanate not from the room, but from the scene itself. "It's uncanny, Poirot," he ventured. "How does one shoot a man inside a locked safe and vanish with a jewel? It's like something out of a penny dreadful." Poirot's smile was faint, but indulgent. "The penny dreadful, mon ami, lacks the elegance of truth. The truth, it is always logical, even when it appears fantastique. Let us examine the stage of this drama." He approached the safe, his polished shoes silent on the thick Persian rug. The vault's door, now propped open by a constable's wedge, was a slab of steel nearly a foot thick, its surface unmarred by scratches or dents. The lock, a complex mechanism of gears and tumblers, gleamed with the precision of a Swiss watch. Poirot's gloved fingers traced its edges, his touch as delicate as a surgeon's. No signs of tampering, he murmured. The lock. It was engaged when the body was discovered. Japp nodded, flipping through his notebook. Jenkins, the night guard, found the safe locked at midnight during his rounds. He called out to Grayson, got no answer, and raised the alarm. Took a locksmith and 2 of my men over an hour to open it. Grayson was dead. The star gone. Poirot's eyes narrowed. And this star of Lahore, what can you tell me of it? A sapphire, Japp replied, the size of a quail's egg, deep blue, flawless. Grayson acquired it a month ago from an Indian dealer for Lady Margaret Vane, a high society type who wanted it set in a necklace, worth a fortune, some say £50,000. Poirot's eyebrows rose. A jewel of such value is a magnet for greed. And who had access to this impregnable vault? 3, as far as we know, Japp said. Victor Hammond, Grayson's business partner of 10 years. Lady Margaret Vane, the client, though she didn't have a key. And Jenkins, the guard, who swears he never entered the safe. Poirot knelt beside Grayson's body, his movements precise, almost reverent. The jeweller's hands were empty, his fingers unadorned save for a gold signet ring. The bullet wound was clean. The entry point, small and exact, suggesting a shot fired at close range. No powder burns on the skin, Poirot noted. The shot was precise, professional. Yet the weapon is missing. Not a trace, Japp said. We've searched the safe, the shop, even the drains outside. Nothing. No fingerprints, no shell casings. It's as if the killer vanished into thin air. Poirot rose, brushing his gloves together. Vanished? Non, Inspector. The killer walked away, but they left their shadow. We must find where it falls. He turned his attention to the safe's interior. Shelves lined the walls, some holding velvet trays with lesser gems, rubies, emeralds, diamonds, that caught the light in a kaleidoscope of color. One tray, prominently placed, was empty, its indentation shaped to cradle a stone the size of the fabled star. Poirot's fingers hovered over it, not touching. This held the Star of Lahore. Japp nodded. Grayson was working on its setting, according to Hammond. He was in the safe late, finishing the design. Poirot's gaze swept the vault's interior, noting its dimensions, barely large enough for a man to stand upright, yet spacious enough for shelves and a small workbench where Grayson had plied his craft. The workbench held tools, pliers, a loop, a delicate hammer, all neatly arranged. A single sheet of paper lay beside them, its surface covered with intricate sketches of a necklace, the centerpiece a star-shaped sapphire. Poirot lifted it carefully, studying the elegant lines. The work of a master, he said. Grayson was an artist, no? Yet his art has cost him his life. Hastings, peering over Poirot's shoulder, frowned. Could it be suicide, Poirot? Grayson locks himself in, shoots himself, and the gun falls somewhere? Poirot's laugh was soft but sharp. Suicide, Hastings, in a safe with a missing gem. No, this is murder, staged with care. The gun did not fall, it was taken. And the safe, it was locked to delay discovery, to create this illusion of impossibility. Japp scratched his head. But how, Poirot? The safe's soundproof, airtight, locked from the inside. Jenkins swears he heard nothing, saw nothing. Hammond was gone by 11, and Lady Vane wasn't even here. Poirot's eyes gleamed. The soundproof safe, it is a clever touch. A scream, a shot, none would hear. But the lock, Inspector, tell me of its mechanism. Japp gestured to a constable who fetched the locksmith, a wiry man named Carter with ink-stained fingers. It's a time lock safe, sir, Carter explained, his voice tinged with awe. Grayson's design, custom built. The door can be locked manually with a key, but it's also set to seal automatically at 10 p.m. and not open until 8 a.m. unless overridden by the key. Only Grayson and Hammond had keys. Poirot's moustache twitched. And at midnight, when Jenkins found the safe locked, it was in this time-lock state. Yes, sir, Carter said. Took us ages to bypass it. Had to drill the secondary bolts. Poirot nodded, his mind racing. A time lock, a key, a sealed tomb. Yet someone entered, killed, and left. Or did they? We must consider all possibilities. He stepped back, surveying the shop beyond the safe. Display cases lined the walls, their contents untouched. A counter held a ledger, its pages open to recent transactions. Poirot flipped through it, his eyes scanning the meticulous entries. Grayson was a man of order, he said. His records, they are impeccable. We shall examine them later, for they may hold secrets. Japp coughed. We've got men searching the suspects' homes, Hammond's flat, Lady Vane's mansion, Jenkins's lodgings. If the star or the gun's there, we'll find it. Poirot's smile was enigmatic. You search for the obvious, Inspector. But the truth, it hides in the subtle. The motives, the movements, the lies. These we must uncover. He turned to the safe once more, his gaze lingering on Grayson's body. Monsieur Grayson, you were betrayed. By whom? A partner, greedy for wealth, a client, coveting your prize, or a guard whose loyalty wavered? The answer lies not in the steel, but in the human heart. Hastings shivered, the shop's warmth doing little to dispel the chill of the scene. It's a locked room, Poirot. A perfect mystery. How will you solve it? Poirot's eyes twinkled. With order and method, mon ami. We shall question, we shall observe, we shall think. The little grey cells, they are already at work. This safe, it is not a barrier, but a mirror, reflecting the truth of the killer's mind. Japp clapped his notebook shut. Right then, I'll have the suspects brought in tomorrow. Hammond's shaken, Lady Vane's haughty, and Jenkins is sweating like a pig. One of them knows something. Indeed, Poirot said. And one of them, perhaps, knows everything. We shall meet them, Inspector, and we shall listen, not only to their words, but to the silences between. As they left the shop, the fog swallowed the lights of Bond Street, leaving only the echo of Poirot's resolve. The mystery of the midnight vault had begun, and Hercule Poirot would not rest until its secrets were laid bare. Chapter 3. The Partner's Tale. The morning sun struggled through the London fog, casting a pallid glow over Bond Street as Hercule Poirot, Captain Hastings, and Inspector Japp reconvened at Grayson's jewellers. The shop, though closed to the public, buzzed with the quiet efficiency of Scotland Yard's men, their footsteps muffled by the plush carpets. The air still carried the faint scent of tragedy, now mingled with the acrid tang of police tobacco. Poirot, immaculate in a tailored suit, his patent leather shoes gleaming, stood near the counter, his eyes fixed on the open ledger from the previous night's inspection. His moustache, perfectly symmetrical, betrayed a flicker of anticipation. We begin, mes amis, with the first thread of our tapestry, Poirot said, his voice precise as a metronome. Monsieur Victor Hammond, the partner. A man who shares the burdens and the profits of this enterprise. Let us see what lies beneath his words. Japp, nursing a cup of tea provided by a nervous shop assistant, nodded. Hammond's waiting in the back office. He's rattled, but he's keeping a stiff upper lip. Says he's got nothing to hide. Hastings, ever the optimist, adjusted his cufflinks. "He seemed genuine last night, Poirot. Called Grayson a brother. Hard to fake that sort of grief." Poirot's smile was enigmatic. "The heart, Hastings, is a stage where grief and guilt play many roles. We shall observe the performance closely." The back office was a stark contrast to the shop's opulence. Its walls were lined with oak panels, worn but polished, and a single window admitted a sliver of grey light. A desk, cluttered with invoices and gem catalogues, dominated the room. Victor Hammond sat behind it, a wiry man in his early 40s, his sharp features drawn tight with strain. His always, a piercing grey, darted between Japp and Poirot, lingering on the latter with a mix of curiosity and wariness. His hands, restless, drummed a faint rhythm on the desk, betraying a nervous energy. "Monsieur Hammond," Poirot began, settling into a chair with the grace of a cat, "my condolences for your loss. Monsieur Grayson was, you said, like a brother?" Hammond's jaw tightened, and he nodded. 10 years we built this place together, from a single shop in Hatton Garden to this." He gestured vaguely, as if the grandeur of Grayson's jewellers could still be felt through the walls. "Alistair was the artist, the genius with stones. I handled the books, the deals. We trusted each other." Poirot's head tilted, his eyes never leaving Hammond's face. "Trust, monsieur, is a delicate gem, easily cracked. Tell me of the Star of Lahore. You arranged its purchase, non?" Hammond leaned back, his fingers stilling. "Yes, a month ago. An Indian dealer, Mr. Kapoor, brought it to us. Said it came from a Maharaja's collection, smuggled out during the Raj's end. Flawless, deep as the night sky. Alistair was captivated. He saw it as his masterpiece." "And Lady Margaret Vane," Poirot prompted. "She commissioned its setting?" "Exactly," Hammond said. "She wanted a necklace, something to outshine every society matron in London. Alistair was working day and night on the design. He was in the safe last night, finishing it." Poirot's fingers brushed his moustache, a gesture Hastings recognized as a prelude to a piercing question. "And you, Monsieur Hammond, where were you at the hour of midnight when this tragedy unfolded?" Hammond's eyes flickered, but his voice remained steady. "Here, in this office. I was balancing the books. We'd had a busy week, and I stayed late to catch up. I left at 11, maybe a bit after. Jenkins, the guard, saw me go. Japp scribbled a note. Jenkins confirms you left at 11. Said you looked tired but normal. No one else was in the shop." "No one," Hammond said firmly. "Just Alistair in the safe, working. He often stayed late when a piece consumed him." Poirot's gaze sharpened. "And the key to the safe? You possess one, oui?" Hammond hesitated, then reached into his pocket, producing a small, ornate key of polished brass. "This is it. Alistair had the other. The safe's time lock engages at 10, but the key can override it. I didn't use it last night, though. No need." Poirot took the key, turning it in his gloved fingers. Its weight was substantial, its craftsmanship meticulous. "A key to a fortress," he murmured. "And yet, a fortress breached. Tell me, monsieur, were there tensions between you and Grayson? A business of such wealth, it breeds ambition, non?" Hammond's lips thinned. "We had disagreements, like any partners. Alistair was cautious, wanted to keep the business small, exclusive. I saw opportunities, new markets, Paris, New York. He thought it risky. But murder? No, Monsieur Poirot. I'd never harm him." Poirot nodded, his expression unreadable. "One final question, monsieur. The Star of Lahore. Its value was immense. Were there others who coveted it? Rivals, perhaps, or thieves? Hammond's eyes darkened. Plenty would have wanted it. Kapoor, the dealer, hinted at other buyers, but Alistair outbid them. And Lady Vane, she was obsessed with it, talked about it like it was hers by right. But thieves? Our security's top-notch, Jenkins is loyal, and the safe's impregnable. Impregnable? Poirot echoed softly, returning the key. Yet not invincible. Merci, Monsieur Hammond. We shall speak again. As they left the office, Japp muttered, He's slick, Poirot. Too slick, maybe. That story about working late. Convenient, don't you think? Poirot's smile was faint. Convenience, Inspector, is often a mask for calculation. Monsieur Hammond speaks of brotherhood, yet his eyes betray a man who counts his coins. We must verify his movements, his motives. Hastings, trailing behind, frowned. He seemed shaken, Poirot. And if he left at 11, how could he have locked Grayson in the safe and shot him? The time lock was set. Poirot paused, his cane tapping the floor. The time lock, Hastings, is a piece of the puzzle, but not the whole. A key overrides it, and keys can be used by hands other than their owners. We must learn more of this partnership, of its cracks and shadows. They stepped into the shop's main room, where a constable approached Japp with a report. Sir, we've checked Hammond's flat. Nothing yet. No gem, no gun. Lady Vane's place is next, and Jenkins' lodgings after that. Japp nodded. Keep at it. Something's got to turn up. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Perhaps, Inspector, it is not what we find, but what we fail to see. Monsieur Hammond has given us his story. But stories, they are like jewels, polished to shine, yet hiding flaws within. Let us prepare to meet the next player in this drama. As they moved toward the door, the fog outside seemed to thicken, as if guarding the secrets of Grayson's jewelers. Poirot's mind, however, was already at work, sifting through Hammond's words, seeking the truth hidden in the silences. Chapter 4. The Ladies' Commission. The fog had retreated by midday, leaving London's Mayfair bathed in a pale, reluctant sunlight that did little to warm the chill of the investigation. Hercule Poirot, Captain Hastings, and Inspector Japp arrived at the imposing townhouse of Lady Margaret Vane, a residence that spoke of old wealth and older ambitions. Its Georgian facade, adorned with ivy and flanked by wrought iron gates, stood as a testament to its owner's status. A butler, stiff as a tin soldier, ushered them into a drawing-room where crystal vases brimmed with hothouse roses and a marble fireplace crackled with restrained elegance. Lady Margaret Vane awaited them, seated on a velvet chaise longue, her posture as composed as a portrait. She was a woman in her late 30s, her auburn hair swept into an intricate chignon, her silk gown the colour of claret. Her eyes, a cool hazel, assessed Poirot with the appraisive gaze of one accustomed to command. A string of pearls at her throat caught the light, but it was the absence of a certain sapphire that drew Poirot's attention. Madame, Poirot began, bowing slightly, his voice smooth as polished amber. I am Hercule Poirot, and these are my associates, Inspector Japp of Scotland Yard and Captain Hastings. We regret to disturb you, but the matter of Monsieur Grayson's death and the loss of the Star of Lahore demands our inquiry. Lady Vane's lips curved in a faint, controlled smile. I expected as much, Monsieur Poirot. The tragedy at Grayson's is shocking. Alistair was a genius, a true artist. His loss is a blow to society, and the theft of my sapphire is most distressing. Poirot settled into an armchair, his small hands folded neatly. Your sapphire, madame? You speak of the Star of Lahore with possession. Tell me, if you please, of your connection to this jewel. She leaned forward, her fingers brushing the pearls at her neck. I commissioned Alistair to create a necklace, a piece to eclipse all others. The star was to be its heart, a sapphire of unparalleled beauty. I saw it last week in his workshop, unset, but already mesmerizing. Alistair promised it would be ready for the Duchess of Claremont's ball next month. Poirot's eyes gleamed, catching the flicker of pride in her voice. "And when did you last see Monsieur Grayson?" "Yesterday, at 3 o'clock, she replied promptly. I visited the shop to review his sketches for the necklace. They were exquisite, worthy of the star. We discussed the setting for perhaps an hour, and I left by 4. He was alive, quite absorbed in his work. Hastings, standing near the fireplace, interjected, "And you didn't return to the shop later, Lady Vane? Not even to check on the progress?" Her gaze sharpened, though her tone remained even. "No, Captain. I had a dinner engagement at the Savoy. My driver and several guests can confirm my presence there until well past midnight." Japp, notebook in hand, coughed. "We'll need the names of those guests, my lady, just to be thorough." "Of course," she said, her voice cool as the marble around her. "I have nothing to conceal, Inspector." Poirot tilted his head, his moustache twitching slightly. "Madame, permit me to ask, your interest in the Star of Lahore, it was purely for its beauty. A jewel of such value, it attracts many desires, non?" Lady Vane's smile tightened, a delicate crack in her composure. "It was to be the centerpiece of my collection, Monsieur Poirot. In my circle, one's status is measured not merely in wealth, but in the rarity of one's possessions. The star was unique, a symbol of triumph." "Triumph," Poirot echoed softly, "and yet its loss is insured, I understand. A substantial sum, perhaps." Her eyes narrowed, but she answered smoothly. "Naturally, I insured it. One does not commission a jewel of such value without precaution. The policy was arranged through Grayson's, with Alistair's assistance. But I assure you, I'd far rather have the necklace than the payout." Poirot nodded, his expression unreadable. "And your relationship with Monsieur Grayson?" "It was cordial? Professional?" "Entirely," she said. "Alistair was a craftsman of rare talent. I respected him, and he valued my patronage. We had no discord." Poirot's fingers brushed his moustache, a gesture Hastings knew signalled a shift in focus. "And Monsieur Hammond, the partner, did you know him well?" Lady Vane hesitated, a fleeting pause that Poirot noted with interest. "I've met him, of course. He handled the business side. Contracts, payments. A capable man, but not an artist like Alistair. I heard they disagreed at times, but such is the nature of partnerships." "Disagreed?" Poirot pressed, his voice gentle but insistent. "On what matters, madame?" She shrugged, a graceful motion. "Business matters, I presume. Alistair mentioned once that Hammond wished to expand the firm abroad, while he preferred to maintain their exclusivity in London. But it was a passing comment, nothing more." Poirot rose, his movements precise. "Merci, madame, for your candour. One final question. The Star of Lahore, it was insured, oui. But was it ever in your possession?" "No," she said firmly. "It remained at Grayson's, under Alistair's care, until the necklace was complete. I trusted him implicitly." Poirot bowed. "Your trust, madame, is noted. We shall trouble you no further, for now." As they left the drawing-room, Japp muttered, "She's a cool one, Poirot." All poise and polish, but that insurance policy makes you wonder, doesn't it? Hastings nodded. She's got an alibi, though. Dinner at the Savoy. Witnesses galore. Hard to see her slipping away to shoot Grayson and steal the gem. Poirot's eyes twinkled. Alibis, mes amis, are like mirrors. They reflect what we are meant to see. Lady Vane speaks of status, of triumph, yet her eyes betray a calculation. The insurance, the disagreements between partners, these are threads we must weave together. They stepped into the Mayfair street, where the sun had surrendered to gathering clouds. Poirot paused, his cane tapping the pavement. Madame Vane is a woman of ambition, but is she a woman of murder? We must learn more of her world, her desires. The star of Lahore shines brightly in her words, but perhaps it blinds us to other truths. Japp clapped his notebook shut. I'll have my men check her alibi and dig into that insurance policy. If there's a crack in her story, we'll find it. Poirot nodded, his mind already turning to the next piece of the puzzle. And we shall seek the guard, Monsieur Jenkins. His eyes, they saw the night unfold. Let us discover what they conceal. The townhouse loomed behind them, its windows dark as the secrets it held. Poirot's little grey cells were at work, unravelling the enigma of the midnight vault, one elegant thread at a time. Chapter 5. The guard's vigil, the afternoon sky over London, hung heavy with the threat of rain, its grey veil lending a sombre air to the investigation. Hercule Poirot, Captain Hastings, and Inspector Japp made their way back to Grayson's jewellers, where the shop's shuttered windows and police cordon stood as silent sentinels against the curious eyes of passers-by. Inside, the air was stale, the opulence of the display cases dimmed by the shadow of murder. The trio moved to a small, utilitarian room at the rear of the shop, where Jenkins, the night guard, awaited them. The room, used for staff breaks, smelled of strong tea and linseed oil, its walls adorned with faded photographs of Grayson's past triumphs, gems that had once graced royal necks and aristocratic fingers. Jenkins stood as they entered, a burly man in his late 40s, his broad shoulders straining the seams of his uniform. His face, weathered by years of night watches, bore the marks of a life spent in service. Deep lines around his eyes, a jaw set with stubborn loyalty. His hands, large and calloused, twisted a worn cap as he met Poirot's gaze, his expression a mixture of deference and unease. Monsieur Jenkins, Poirot began, settling into a wooden chair with the poise of a conductor before an orchestra. You are the guardian of this fortress of jewels. Your eyes, they see what others do not. Tell me of the night Monsieur Grayson met his end. Jenkins cleared his throat, his voice gruff but steady. I started my shift at 6, sir. Did my rounds as usual, every hour checking the doors, the windows, the safe. At 11, I saw Mr. Hammond leave his office. He looked knackered, said he was off home. I locked the front door behind him. At midnight, I checked the safe. It was locked, like always, but when I called out to Mr. Grayson, there was no answer. That's when I knew something was wrong. Poirot's fingers steepled, his green eyes unblinking. The safe. It is soundproof, way? You heard nothing? No shot, no cry? Nothing, sir, Jenkins said, shaking his head. It's built like a tomb. You could fire a cannon in there, and no one outside would know. I banged on the door, shouted, but got no response. So I called the police. Hastings, leaning against a wall, frowned. And you're certain no one else was in the shop after Hammond left? No strangers? No visitors? Jenkins's eyes flickered. a brief shadow crossing his face. "No one, sir. Just me and Mr. Grayson. The shop's locked tight at night. Alarms on every door and window. I'd have known if anyone tried to get in." Poirot's moustache twitched, a sign of his mind at work. "And the key to the safe? You do not possess one, I understand." "No, sir," Jenkins replied, his grip on the cap tightening. "Only Mr. Grayson and Mr. Hammond had keys. I'm just the guard. My job's to watch, not to open." Poirot leaned forward, his voice soft but piercing. "Yet you are vigilant, Monsieur Jenkins. Your rounds, they are precise, non? Tell me, what did you see at 11:30 when you made your rounds between Hammond's departure and the discovery of the crime?" Jenkins hesitated, his broad fingers pausing in their restless twisting. "Same as always, sir. The shop was quiet, everything in place. I checked the safe at 11:30, and it was locked. I didn't call out then. Mr. Grayson often worked late, and I didn't want to disturb him." Japp, scribbling in his notebook, looked up. "You didn't think to check on him? A man alone in a safe, late at night?" Jenkins's jaw tightened. "He'd told me before not to bother him when he was working. Said it broke his concentration. I figured he was fine, locked in there with his tools and that sapphire." Poirot's gaze sharpened, catching the faint tremor in Jenkins's voice. "And yet, at midnight, you did call out. Why, monsieur, did you change your routine?" The guard's eyes dropped to his cap, his fingers resuming their nervous dance. "I don't know, sir. Just a feeling. The shop felt too quiet, maybe. When he didn't answer, I got worried." Poirot nodded, his expression unreadable. "A feeling, you say. The instincts of a loyal guard are not to be dismissed. Tell me, Monsieur Jenkins, how long have you served at Grayson's?" 5 years, Jenkins said, his voice steadier now. "I was a sergeant in the army before that. Mr. Grayson hired me. After I left the service, said he needed someone he could trust." "And Monsieur Hammond?" Poirot asked. "Did you trust him as well?" Jenkins's lips pressed into a thin line. "He's my employer, sir. He's always been fair. Bit sharp with the staff sometimes, but he runs a tight ship." Poirot's smile was faint, almost imperceptible. "A tight ship, oui. And yet, a ship with a breach. One final question, monsieur. Did you ever see the Star of Lahore? Did its beauty captivate you?" Jenkins blinked, caught off guard. "I saw it once, sir, when Mr. Grayson showed it to Lady Vane. It was like nothing I'd ever seen. Blue as the sea, but alive, like it had a heart. But it wasn't my place to care about it. My job was to guard the shop, not the gems." Poirot rose, his movements as precise as a clock's gears. "Merci, Monsieur Jenkins. Your vigilance is noted. We may speak again, for the night holds many shadows." As they left the room, Japp muttered, "He's hiding something, Poirot." That pause when you asked about 11:30. He knows more than he's letting on. Hastings nodded, his brow furrowed. "He's loyal. But to whom? Grayson's dead, and Hammond's his boss now. Could he be covering for him?" Poirot's cane tapped the floor as they returned to the shop's main room, where the safe loomed like a silent witness. "Monsieur Jenkins is a man of duty, but duty can be a blindfold. His hesitation, it speaks of a truth he fears to reveal. We must discover what he saw, or chose not to see, in those crucial moments." Japp flipped his notebook shut. "I'll have my men dig into Jenkins' past, army records, maybe a debt or two. If he's got a reason to lie, we'll find it." Poirot's eyes gleamed, reflecting the dim light of a nearby chandelier. "And we shall return to the safe, mes amis. Its silence is eloquent, but it requires the right questions to speak. Jenkins guards the door, but the key to this mystery lies elsewhere, in the hearts of those who coveted the star. The shop's quiet was oppressive, broken only by the distant patter of rain against the windows. Poirot stood motionless, his mind a whirl of possibilities, each a thread in the intricate tapestry of the midnight vault. The guard's vigil had been breached, and the truth, Poirot knew, was waiting to be uncovered. Chapter 6. The Mechanics of Murder. The rain that had threatened all afternoon now drummed a steady rhythm on the roof of Grayson's jewellers, its cadence a sombre backdrop to the unfolding mystery. Hercule Poirot stood once more before the great steel safe, its open door a mute challenge to his intellect. The shop, now dimmed by the gathering dusk, seemed to hold its breath, the glittering display cases mere spectators to the drama within the vault. Inspector Japp, his coat speckled with raindrops, paced nearby, while Captain Hastings leaned against a counter, his face a mixture of fascination and frustration. Poirot's eyes, sharp as a falcon's, traced the contours of the safe's interior. The steel walls, unyielding and unscarred, gleamed under the flicker of an electric lamp held by a constable. The velvet-lined shelves, the small workbench with its precise array of tools, and the crumpled form of Alistair Grayson's body, now removed for examination, left an emptiness that seemed to echo with unanswered questions. Poirot's gloved fingers hovered over the lock, a masterpiece of engineering with its intricate tumblers and polished brass fittings. "The mechanics of this crime," Poirot said, his voice low but resonant. "They are as precise as this safe itself. A man is shot, a gem is stolen, the vault is locked, yet the killer escapes. How, mes amis, is such a feat accomplished?" Japp stopped pacing, his notebook dangling in one hand. "That's the rub, Poirot. The safe's a fortress. No windows, no vents, no hidden panels. We've checked every inch. The time lock was engaged when Jenkins found it at midnight. Only Grayson and Hammond had keys, and Hammond says he was gone by 11. Hastings rubbed his chin, his brow furrowed. Could Grayson have let someone in? A secret meeting, perhaps, and then something went wrong? Poirot's moustache twitched, a faint smile playing beneath it. A secret meeting, Hastings. Possible, but unlikely. Monsieur Grayson was a man of method, non? His tools, his sketches, they speak of focus, not conspiracy. No, the answer lies in the mechanics of the act itself. He stepped inside the safe, his small frame dwarfed by its steel embrace. The air was cool, faintly metallic, with a lingering trace of Grayson's cologne. Poirot examined the workbench, where a loop, a pair of fine pliers, and a delicate hammer lay in perfect alignment. The sketch of the necklace, with its star-shaped sapphire centerpiece, remained where he had seen it last, its lines a testament to Grayson's artistry. Poirot's fingers brushed the paper, his eyes narrowing. "The Star of Lahore," he murmured. "It was here, on this bench, when Grayson died. Yet it is gone, and the safe was locked. The killer, they did not merely steal. They orchestrated." Japp snorted, though his tone held grudging respect. "Orchestrated, you say? Sounds like a blooming opera. But how do you shoot a man in a soundproof safe, lock it, and walk away without a trace?" Poirot turned, his gaze piercing. "The soundproofing, Inspector. It is a key element. A shot fired here would be silent to the world outside. Jenkins, he heard nothing. Oui. But the lock, this time lock intrigues me. Monsieur Carter, the locksmith, said it engages at 10 p.m., yet a key can override it. Let us consider the sequence." He stepped to the safe's door, his fingers tracing the lock's mechanism. The time lock seals the safe automatically, unless the key is used. Grayson was working late, so he must have used his key to enter. After 10, the killer, they either entered with him or followed. The shot is fired, the gem is taken, and the safe is locked, either by the killer or by the time lock itself. Hastings frowned, his mind grappling with the puzzle. But if the killer was inside, how did they get out? The door was locked when Jenkins checked at midnight. And if they had a key, why lock it at all? Poirot's smile was enigmatic. Why, indeed, Hastings? The locked safe is not a barrier, but a statement. It says, "This is impossible." Yet nothing is impossible when the mind applies order and method. The killer wishes us to marvel at the lock, but we must look beyond it, to the motives, the movements. Japp flipped open his notebook. We've searched high and low. Hammond's flat, Lady Vane's mansion, Jenkins's lodgings. Nothing. No gun, no sapphire. It's like the star vanished into the ether. Poirot's eyes gleamed. The ether, no. It is hidden, not vanished. The star of Lahore is a prize too valuable to discard. We must consider where one hides such a treasure, not in the obvious places, but in the clever ones. He stepped out of the safe, his cane tapping the floor as he moved to the shop's main room. The ledger on the counter caught his eye, its pages still open to Grayson's meticulous entries. Poirot flipped through them, his fingers pausing on a recent transaction. A payment for the Star's purchase, signed by Hammond. "The business of Grayson's," he said. "It is a web of trust and ambition. Monsieur Hammond spoke of expansion, of markets abroad. Grayson resisted. Such tensions, they breed secrets." Japp nodded, his expression grim. "We're looking into the books. If there's funny business, debts, payoffs, we'll find it. But what about the gun? A shot that clean, no residue, no casing. It's too perfect." Poirot's gaze drifted back to the safe. "The gun, it is a phantom. But phantoms leave traces. The absence of residue, it suggests care, precision. The killer planned not only the act, but its concealment. We must ask, who benefits from Grayson's death and the Star's theft?" Hastings, ever eager to contribute, ventured. "Lady Vane's insurance policy. She'd get a fortune if the gem's not recovered. And Hammond inherits the business now, doesn't he?" Poirot nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Oui, Hastings. Motives abound. Lady Vane seeks status, Hammond seeks power, and Jenkins, his loyalty, it is a shield, but perhaps it hides a wound. We must probe deeper." He turned to Japp. "Inspector, I request a reconstruction of the night's events. Have Jenkins show us his rounds, his precise movements, and summon Monsieur Hammond and Lady Vane once more. Their stories, they must align with the mechanics of this crime." Japp sighed, but nodded. "Right, Poirot. I'll set it up for tomorrow. But I'm warning you, this case is a maze, and we're chasing shadows." "Shadows, Inspector," Poirot said, his voice soft but resolute, "are cast by light. We shall find the source." As they left the shop, the rain intensified, cloaking Bond Street in a glistening sheen. Poirot's mind, undeterred by the storm, churned with the puzzle's pieces. The locked safe, the missing gem, the silent shot. The mechanics of murder were complex, but Hercule Poirot thrived on complexity, and the truth, he knew, was waiting to be unlocked. Chapter 7. A pattern emerges. The rain had softened to a drizzle by the following morning, leaving London's streets slick and reflective, as if the city itself were pondering the mystery of Grayson's jewellers. Hercule Poirot, Captain Hastings, and Inspector Japp gathered once more in the shop's back room, where the air was thick with the scent of damp wool and the faint musk of old ledgers. The investigation, now in its second day, had taken on a rhythm of its own, a dance of questions and silences, each step bringing Poirot closer to the truth. The safe, its steel door still propped open, loomed in the background, a silent witness to the unfolding drama. Poirot stood near a cluttered table, his gloved hands sifting through a stack of invoices with the precision of a pianist. His eyes, bright with purpose, missed nothing. Not the faint smudge of ink on a receipt, nor the nervous glance of a shop assistant hovering nearby. "The pattern, mes amis," he said, his voice a measured cadence. "It begins to emerge. A crime such as this is not a single act, but a tapestry woven from many threads: greed, ambition, betrayal. We must seek the strands that connect our suspects." Japp, his coat slung over a chair, rubbed his hands against the morning chill. "We've got men digging into Hammond's finances and Lady Vane's insurance policy. Jenkins's army records are clean, but we're still checking for debts. What's this pattern you're seeing, Poirot?" Poirot's moustache twitched, a sign of his mind at work. "It is in the small things, Inspector. The inconsistencies, the hesitations. But first, let us speak with those who knew Monsieur Grayson best. The staff, they see what the masters overlook." He summoned the shop's clerk, a young man named Thomas Ellis, whose spectacles and ink-stained fingers suggested a life spent in service to numbers and detail. Ellis stood before them, his posture rigid, his eyes darting between Poirot and the floor. "Monsieur Ellis," Poirot began, his tone gentle but probing, "you worked closely with Monsieur Grayson and Monsieur Hammond, oui? Tell me of their partnership. Was it as harmonious as Monsieur Hammond claims?" Ellis adjusted his spectacles, his voice low but clear. "They were professional, sir. Mr. Grayson was the soul of the shop, always sketching, always dreaming up new designs. Mr. Hammond was the head, sharp, focused on profit. They didn't always see eye to eye." Poirot leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "And these disagreements, they were frequent?" Ellis hesitated, glancing at Japp as if seeking permission. "More so lately, sir. Mr. Hammond wanted to open shops in Paris and New York, said we could triple our profits. Mr. Grayson wasn't keen, said it would dilute our reputation. They argued about it last week, right here in the shop. Voices raised, doors slammed." Hastings, seated nearby, leaned in. "Did these arguments ever turn personal, Ellis? Any threats?" The clerk shook his head, though his fingers fidgeted with a pencil. "Not threats, sir, but it was tense. Mr. Grayson said something about auditing the books, making sure everything was above board. Mr. Hammond didn't like that, said it was a waste of time." Poirot's gaze sharpened, a predator scenting prey. "An audit, you say? Most interesting. And the Star of Lahore. Did you see it, Monsieur Ellis?" "Once, sir," Ellis replied, "when Mr. Grayson showed it to Lady Vane. It was extraordinary, like a piece of the night sky. Mr. Grayson kept it in the safe, always. He was protective of it." Poirot nodded, dismissing Ellis with a courteous nod. "Merci, monsieur. Your words add colour to our canvas." As Ellis retreated, Japp scratched his head. "An audit, eh? That's a motive, if ever I heard one. If Hammond was cooking the books, Grayson might have been on to him." Poirot's smile was faint, but knowing. "Precisely, Inspector. A man who fears scrutiny may act to silence it. But let us not leap to conclusions. There are other threads to weave." He turned to a porter, a wiry man named Davies, who had been sweeping the shop's floor when they arrived. Davies, with his weathered hands and deferential nod, approached cautiously, as if wary of the spotlight Poirot's questions cast. "Monsieur Davies," Poirot said, his voice smooth as silk, "you move through this shop unseen, yet you see all. Tell me of the night of the murder. Did you notice anything unusual?" Davies shifted his weight, his broom leaning against his shoulder. "I wasn't here late, sir. Left at 6 when my shift ended. But I did see Jenkins that evening, around 5. He was pacing near the safe, looking unsettled-like. Not his usual self." Poirot's eyebrows rose slightly. "Unsettled, you say? And this was not his habit?" "No, sir," Davies said. "Jenkins is steady as a rock, always on his rounds like clockwork. But that evening he lingered near the safe longer than usual. Didn't think much of it at the time. But now—" Poirot's fingers brushed his moustache. A gesture Hastings knew signalled a new piece of the puzzle falling into place. "And Monsieur Hammond, or Lady Vane? Did you see them that day?" "Lady Vane was here in the afternoon," Davies replied. "Came to see Mr. Grayson about the necklace. Left around 4. All smiles. Mr. Hammond was in his office most of the day, snapping at everyone. Said he had a deadline to meet." Poirot nodded, his mind cataloguing each detail. "Merci, Monsieur Davy. Your eyes, they are most valuable." As Davies returned to his broom, Hastings frowned. "Jenkins lingering near the safe. That's odd, Poirot. He told us he only checked it on his rounds. Could he be involved?" Poirot's gaze drifted to the safe, its open door a silent challenge. "Monsieur Jenkins, he guards the gate, but perhaps he saw more than he admits. His unease, it suggests a conflict, loyalty to his employer, or fear of what he witnessed." Japp clapped his notebook shut. "I'll press Jenkins again, and we're still checking Lady Vane's alibi at the Savoy. But this audit business sounds like Hammond had reason to want Grayson out of the way." Poirot turned to the ledger on the counter, its pages a labyrinth of numbers and names. He flipped through it, his eyes scanning for anomalies. "The books, they are the heart of this business. If Monsieur Grayson suspected irregularities, he would have pursued them. Let us see what secrets they hold." He paused on a page dated 3 days before the murder. A payment of £5,000 to an unnamed account authorized by Hammond. "Voilà," Poirot murmured. "A sum substantial, yet vague. To whom was this paid, and why?" Japp leaned over, squinting at the entry. "No name, no description. That's sloppy for Grayson's records. Could be a bribe, a payoff. Something Hammond didn't want traced." Poirot's smile was enigmatic. "Or a preparation, Inspector. A man who plans a theft may also plan his escape. We must trace this payment, for it may lead us to the Star of Lahore." Hastings, ever eager, ventured, "What about Lady Vane's insurance? Ellis said the Star was insured through Grayson's. If she gets a payout, that's motive, isn't it?" Poirot nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Oui, Hastings. The insurance, it is a thread of a profit. But murder, it is a bold step. Lady Vane seeks status, not blood. Yet her ambition, it bears watching." He closed the ledger, his fingers lingering on its leather cover. "The pattern, it grows clearer. A partner with ambitions thwarted, a guard with secrets unspoken, a lady with desires cloaked in silk. Each thread leads us closer to the truth. But we must tread carefully, lest the tapestry unravels." Japp sighed, his patience wearing thin. "We're chasing ghosts, Poirot. No gun, no gem, just stories and suspicions. What's next?" Poirot's eyes gleamed, reflecting the dim light of the shop. Next, Inspector, we return to the heart of the crime. The safe. We shall reconstruct the night, with Jenkins to guide us, and we shall question Monsieur Hammond about this payment. The truth, it hides in the details, and Hercule Poirot shall find it. As they moved toward the safe, the drizzle outside ceased, leaving a stillness that seemed to echo the tension within Grayson's jewelers. The pattern was emerging, and Poirot's little grey cells were weaving it into a picture only he could yet see. Chapter 8. The Hidden Thread. The late afternoon light filtered weakly through the windows of Grayson's jewelers, casting long shadows across the shop's polished floors. The air was heavy with the scent of old paper and the faint tang of metal, a reminder of the safe that stood like a sentinel at the heart of the mystery. Hercule Poirot, his small frame a study in precision, stood beside the counter, the ledger open before him. His gloved fingers traced the entry that had caught his attention, a payment of £5,000 authorized by Victor Hammond to an unnamed account. The anomaly, like a discordant note in a symphony, demanded his scrutiny. Inspector Japp, his face etched with the weariness of a long day, leaned against a display case, his notebook bristling with scribbled observations. Captain Hastings, ever the loyal shadow, stood nearby, his eyes flickering between Poirot and the ledger, as if hoping to glimpse the revelation that eluded him. "The hidden thread, mes amis," Poirot said, his voice soft but resonant. "It lies here, in the numbers. This payment, it is no mere transaction. It is a whisper of intent. £5,000 sent to an account without a name. Why, I ask, does a man of business like Monsieur Hammond obscure such a sum?" Japp straightened, his interest piqued. "You think it's a payoff? Bribing someone to keep quiet, maybe? Or a down payment for the Star?" Poirot's moustache twitched, a sign of his mind weaving connections. "Perhaps, Inspector. Or perhaps it is the first step in a larger plan. A man does not move such money without purpose, especially when his partner speaks of audits. We must trace this thread to its source." Hastings frowned, his brow creasing with effort. "But how, Poirot? The ledger doesn't say who got the money. It could be a supplier, a creditor, anything." Poirot's smile was enigmatic, his green eyes gleaming. "Anything, Hastings." "No, it is something. The absence of a name is itself a clue. In a business as meticulous as Grayson's, such vagueness is deliberate. We shall confront Monsieur Hammond, but first, let us gather more threads." He summoned the shop's accountant, a thin, bespectacled man named Mr. Percival, whose nervous demeanor suggested a life spent balancing figures and fears. Percival approached, clutching a stack of papers as if they were a shield. "Monsieur Percival," Poirot began, his tone courteous but probing, "you keep the books for Grayson's, oui? This payment of £5,000, 3 days before Monsieur Grayson's death. What can you tell me of it?" Percival's fingers tightened on his papers, his eyes darting to the ledger. I recorded it as Mr. Hammond instructed, sir. He said it was for a confidential transaction, a supplier, I think. He didn't give details, and I didn't ask. Mr. Grayson was particular about the books, but Mr. Hammond handled certain deals himself." Poirot's gaze sharpened. "And Monsieur Grayson, he knew of this payment?" Percival hesitated, his Adam's apple bobbing. "I mentioned it to him, sir, the day before he passed. He was surprised, said he'd look into it. He was planning to review all recent transactions, especially after his disagreement with Mr. Hammond about expansion." Japp's pencil paused, his eyes narrowing. So, Grayson was sniffing around, and Hammond didn't like it. That's motive, Poirot. Poirot nodded, his fingers brushing the ledger's page. Motive, oui, but not yet proof. Monsieur Percival, this supplier, did you ever see correspondence, invoices, anything to confirm its legitimacy? Percival shook his head, his voice barely above a whisper. No, sir. Mr. Hammond said it was handled privately. I assumed it was for gems, perhaps from abroad. He often dealt with foreign contacts. Poirot dismissed the accountant with a nod, his mind already turning to the next step. A private deal, conducted in shadow. This, mes amis, is the thread we must follow. Let us speak with Monsieur Hammond. They found Victor Hammond in his office, his sharp features drawn tighter than before, his eyes betraying a flicker of unease as Poirot entered. The room was cluttered with ledgers and gem catalogues, but the desk was conspicuously clear, as if swept clean of secrets. Monsieur Hammond, Poirot said, settling into a chair with the grace of a cat. We must speak of the ledger, a payment of £5,000, authorized by you, to an unnamed account. This is most irregular, no? Hammond's fingers drummed briefly on the desk before stilling. It was a supplier, Monsieur Poirot. A private deal for gems from an Indian contact. Nothing unusual in our line of work. Poirot's smile was polite, but unrelenting. Yet no invoice, no name, no record. Monsieur Grayson, he was unaware of this deal until the accountant spoke of it. He planned an audit, did he not? Hammond's jaw tightened, a muscle twitching in his cheek. Alistair was overly cautious. He didn't understand the need for discretion in some transactions. Yes, he mentioned an audit, but it was routine. We had nothing to hide. Poirot leaned forward, his voice soft but piercing. Nothing to hide, monsieur? Yet a man is dead, a gem is missing, and your payment raises questions. To whom did this money go? A supplier, or perhaps a buyer for the Star of Lahore? Hammond's face paled, his voice rising. That's preposterous. I'd never betray Alistair. That payment was for a legitimate deal. You've no proof otherwise. Poirot's eyes gleamed, catching the light like polished jade. Proof, monsieur, is a matter of time. The truth, it is like a gem, hidden, but not invisible. We shall trace this payment, and it will speak. As they left the office, Japp muttered, He's rattled, Poirot. That payment's got him squirming. I'll get my men to check the bank records, see where that money went. Hastings, trailing behind, frowned. If Hammond was planning to sell the Star, why kill Grayson? He could have just taken the gem and run. Poirot's cane tapped the floor, a rhythmic counterpoint to his thoughts. Because, Hastings, the Star is but one piece of the puzzle. Grayson's death ensures silence, silence about the payment, the audit, the ambitions that threatened Hammond's plans. But we must be certain. He paused by the safe, its open door a silent accusation. The hidden thread, it weaves through money, through trust betrayed. Hammond's payment, Jenkins's hesitation, Lady Vane's ambition. They are all part of the pattern. We must now seek the one who holds the needle. Japp clapped his notebook shut. I'll have the bank records by tomorrow. And we're still checking Lady Vane's alibi and Jenkins' movements. Something's got to break soon. Poirot's smile was faint, but resolute. It will, Inspector. The truth, it cannot hide forever. We shall return to the safe, to the night of the murder, and we shall see what the shadows reveal. As they stepped into the damp street, the drizzle had ceased, leaving a clarity that mirrored Poirot's resolve. The hidden thread was there, waiting to be pulled, and Hercule Poirot would not rest until it unravelled the mystery of the Midnight Vault. Chapter 9. The Lady's Secret. The evening had draped London in a cloak of the twilight, the gas lamps casting a golden haze over Mayfair's elegant streets. Hercule Poirot, Captain Hastings, and Inspector Japp returned to the grand townhouse of Lady Margaret Vane, its Georgian facade now softened by the gathering dusk. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of wood smoke and wet leaves, a reminder of the city's relentless pulse beneath its polished exterior. Inside, the butler led them once more to the drawing-room, where the fire crackled with a warmth that did little to dispel the chill of the investigation. Lady Vane awaited them, standing by a tall window, her silhouette framed against the fading light. Her gown, a deep emerald, shimmered with understated elegance, and her auburn hair was pinned with a single diamond clip that caught the firelight. She turned as they entered, her hazel eyes cool but watchful, assessing Poirot with the precision of a jeweller examining a gem. "Monsieur Poirot," she said, her voice smooth as velvet, "I had not expected a second visit so soon. Have you news of the Star of Lahore, or of poor Alistair's killer?" Poirot bowed, his movements precise, his green eyes unyielding. "Madame, the news is yet to come, but the truth, it approaches. We must speak again, for there are threads in this tapestry that remain obscured. May we sit?" She gestured to the chaise longue and armchairs, settling herself with the grace of a hostess accustomed to command. "Of course, I am at your disposal, though I've told you all I know." Poirot took a seat, his small hands folded neatly, his moustache a perfect arc of scrutiny. "Perhaps, madame, but the truth, it is like a diamond. It reveals new facets with each turn. Let us speak of the Star of Lahore. Its loss, it is covered by a substantial insurance policy, oui?" Lady Vane's lips tightened, a flicker of irritation crossing her face before she smoothed it away. "Yes, as I mentioned, the Star was insured through Grayson's, a precaution any sensible person would take for a jewel of such value. Alistair arranged it himself, to my specifications." Poirot's eyes gleamed, catching the faint edge in her tone. "And the sum, madame?" "It is considerable, I presume, enough to compensate for the loss of your triumph?" Her gaze hardened, though her voice remained even. "The policy was for £60,000, Monsieur Poirot. A fortune, yes, but I'd rather have the necklace than the money. The Star was to be my crowning achievement, a symbol of my place in society." Hastings, seated beside Japp, leaned forward. £60,000 is a motive, Lady Vane. A tidy sum for someone in financial straits." Lady Vane's eyes flashed, but she maintained her composure. "I assure you, Captain, my finances are sound. My late husband's estate provides amply, and my investments are prudent. I sought the Star for its prestige, not for profit." Poirot tilted his head, his voice soft but piercing. "Prestige, madame, is a powerful motive. But let us turn to another matter. You mentioned that Monsieur Grayson spoke of tensions with Monsieur Hammond, disagreements over the business. Did he share more? Perhaps a concern, a suspicion?" Lady Vane hesitated, her fingers brushing the pearls at her throat. "Alistair was discreet, but he did mention that Victor was pushing for risky ventures, shops abroad, new suppliers. Alistair feared it would overextend the firm. He said something about checking the books, ensuring everything was in order." Japp's pencil scratched in his notebook. "Checking the books, eh? That matches what the clerk said. Grayson was planning an audit. Did he suspect Hammond of anything specific? Her lips pursed, a delicate frown creasing her brow. He didn't say outright, but I sensed he was uneasy. Alistair was meticulous, almost obsessive about the business. If he thought Victor was hiding something, he'd have pursued it. Poirot's fingers brushed his moustache, a gesture Hastings recognized as a prelude to a deeper probe. "And you, madame, did you share this unease? Or perhaps you had your own reasons to question Monsieur Hammond's dealings?" Lady Vane's eyes narrowed, but she answered smoothly. "I had no dealings with Victor beyond the occasional contract. My trust was in Alistair. If there was anything amiss, I'd have expected him to handle it." Poirot nodded, his expression unreadable. "And the night of the murder, madame, you were at the Savoy, oui? A dinner engagement with witnesses to confirm your presence?" "Yes," she said firmly. "I dined with Lord and Lady Ashbourne, among others. We were there from 7 until after midnight. My driver took me home. I'm sure Inspector Japp's men have verified this." Japp nodded, though his eyes remained skeptical. "We're checking, my lady. No stone unturned." Poirot leaned forward, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "One final question, madame. The Star of Lahore. It was never in your possession, yet you speak of it with such passion. Did you ever consider what its loss might mean, beyond the necklace? A scandal, perhaps, or an opportunity?" Her face hardened, a crack in her polished facade. "I am no thief, Monsieur Poirot, nor a murderer. The star was to be my legacy, not my ruin. I mourn Alistair's death and the jewel's loss, but I had no hand in either." Poirot rose, bowing slightly. "Merci, madame. Your words, they are most illuminating. We shall not trouble you further, for now." As they left the drawing-room, Japp muttered, "She's hiding something, Poirot. That talk of prestige, it's all well and good, but £60,000 could tempt a saint." Hastings nodded, his brow furrowed. "Her alibi seems solid, but she's too composed, don't you think? Like she's rehearsed every word." Poirot's cane tapped the floor as they stepped into the cool evening air. "Composure, Hastings, is a mask. Lady Vane wears it well, but beneath it lies ambition, perhaps desperation. The insurance, the tensions between Grayson and Hammond, these are threads that entwine her, whether she admits it or not." Japp clapped his notebook shut. "We've got her alibi under scrutiny, and we're tracing that payment from Hammond. If there's a link between them, we'll find it." Poirot's eyes gleamed, reflecting the glow of a nearby lamp. "And we must return to Monsieur Jenkins, mes amis. His vigil holds secrets yet unspoken. The lady's secret, it is but one piece of the puzzle. The truth of the midnight vault lies in the shadows they all cast." The Mayfair street was quiet, the townhouse's windows dark as the secrets within. Poirot's mind, a whirl of logic and intuition, was already threading the next needle in the tapestry of the crime. Chapter 10. The Guard's Confession. The morning mist clung to Bond Street, weaving a gossamer veil around Grayson's jewellers as Hercule Poirot, Captain Hastings, and Inspector Japp returned to the scene of the crime. The shop, its shutters drawn, seemed to crouch in the dawn light, guarding its secrets with a stubborn silence. Inside, the air was cool and heavy, the faint gleam of display cases muted by the absence of customers. The great steel safe, its door still propped open, stood as a monument to the mystery that had consumed Poirot's little grey cells for days. The trio gathered in the back room, where the scent of strong tea lingered from a constable's earlier break. Jenkins, the night guard, awaited them, his burly frame filling the doorway. His weathered face, etched with the strain of sleepless nights, betrayed a flicker of apprehension as he met Poirot's piercing gaze. His hands, no longer twisting his cap, hung stiffly at his sides, as if braced for a storm. "Monsieur Jenkins," Poirot began, his voice smooth but unyielding, "you have been the sentinel of this establishment, the guardian of its treasures. Yet a treasure has been stolen, and a man is dead. The time for silence is past. Speak, if you please, of what you truly saw on the night of Monsieur Grayson's murder." Jenkins shifted his weight, his eyes darting to Japp, then back to Poirot. "I've told you, sir. I did my rounds, checked the safe at midnight, found it locked, and got no answer from Mr. Grayson. That's when I called for help." Poirot's moustache twitched, a sign of his mind honing in on a crack in the guard's armor. "Oui, monsieur, you have told us this. But the porter, Monsieur Davies, he saw you near the safe at 11:30, lingering where you had no need to be. This was not your usual routine, non? Why were you there?" Jenkins' jaw tightened, a flush creeping up his neck. I was just checking the shop, sir, making sure everything was secure. Mr. Grayson was working late, and I wanted to be thorough." Poirot leaned forward, his green eyes glinting like polished jade. "Thorough, monsieur, or curious? A man of your experience, a former sergeant, does not linger without cause. What did you see, or hear, that you have not shared?" The guard's hands clenched, his knuckles whitening. For a moment, silence hung heavy, broken only by the distant drip of a faucet. Then, as if a dam had broken, Jenkins's shoulders sagged, and his voice dropped to a hoarse whisper. "All right, sir. I saw something. At 11:15, after Mr. Hammond said he was leaving, I saw him come back. He went to the safe, used his key. I thought he was checking stock or talking to Mr. Grayson. I didn't want to interfere, so I stayed back." Japp's pencil froze, his eyes narrowing. "Hammond came back. You didn't mention this before, Jenkins. Why the devil not?" Jenkins' gaze dropped to the floor, his voice thick with shame. "He's my employer, sir. I've got a family, a job to keep. I thought maybe it was nothing, just business. But when I found the safe locked at midnight and Mr. Grayson dead, I knew I should have said something. I was scared." Hastings, his brow furrowed, leaned forward. "Scared of what, Jenkins? That Hammond would sack you, or that you'd be implicated?" Jenkins shook his head, his eyes haunted. "Both, sir. I've served here 5 years, loyal as they come. But Mr. Hammond, he's got a temper, and with Mr. Grayson gone, he's in charge now. I didn't want to cross him." Poirot's expression remained impassive, though his mind was a whirl of connections. "And what did you see, Monsieur Jenkins, when Monsieur Hammond returned? Did he carry anything? A bag? A weapon?" "Nothing I could see, sir," Jenkins said. "He was in his coat, moving quick. He was in the safe for maybe 5 minutes, then left again. I didn't hear no shot, no noise. Safe's soundproof, like I said. I figured he and Mr. Grayson were sorting something out." Poirot nodded, his fingers brushing his moustache. 5 minutes, you say? Enough time to act, to plan. And you, monsieur, you chose silence over truth. A dangerous choice, but one we now understand. Tell me, did you see Lady Vane or anyone else that night?" Jenkins shook his head firmly. "No, sir. Just Mr. Hammond. Lady Vane was long gone by 4, and no one else came near the shop. I'd have known. Alarms on every entrance." Japp clapped his notebook shut, his voice sharp. You've held back on us, Jenkins. That's obstruction, and it could land you in hot water. We'll need to verify this with Hammond. Poirot raised a hand, his tone calm but commanding. Patience, Inspector. Monsieur Jenkins has given us a thread, a vital one. His fear, it speaks of loyalty tested, but his confession, it brings us closer to the truth. Merci, Monsieur Jenkins. You may go, but remain available. As Jenkins retreated, his heavy footsteps echoing in the quiet shop, Japp turned to Poirot. Hammond's our man, isn't he? Back at 11:15, using his key. That puts him in the safe with Grayson. He could have shot him, taken the star, and locked it up to throw us off. Hastings nodded, his eyes wide. It fits, Poirot. The payment in the ledger, the audit Grayson wanted. Hammond had to stop him. But how do we prove it? The gun and the gem are still missing. Poirot's smile was faint, his gaze drifting to the safe's open door. Proof, Hastings, is a matter of persistence. Monsieur Hammond's return, it is a crack in his story. We must widen it, find where the star is hidden and where the weapon lies. The safe, it is not just a tomb, it is a stage, and we must recreate the performance. Japp rubbed his hands, his energy renewed. I'll have my men search Hammond's flat again, top to bottom. And we'll trace that payment. Bank records should be in by now. If he's fencing the star, we'll catch him. Poirot's cane tapped the floor, a rhythmic counterpoint to his thoughts. And we shall summon Monsieur Hammond once more. His lies, they unravel. But we must be precise. The guard's confession, it is a step. But the final truth lies in the weaving of all threads. Hammond's ambition, Lady Vane's desires, Jenkins's silence. As they moved toward the shop's entrance, the mist outside thickened, cloaking Bond Street in secrecy. Poirot's mind, undeterred, was already plotting the next move. The guard's confession, a beacon in the fog of the Menor. Midnight Vault's mystery. Chapter 11. The Reconstruction. The morning sun pierced the thinning mist over Bond Street, casting a pale glow through the shuttered windows of Grayson's jewellers. The shop, now a familiar stage for the unfolding drama, stood silent, save for the soft tread of constables and the faint creak of floorboards. Hercule Poirot, his small frame impeccable in a tailored suit, stood at the center of the main room, his green eyes scanning the space with the precision of a watchmaker. The great steel safe, its door propped open, loomed like a silent actor awaiting its cue. Inspector Japp, his notebook worn from constant use, paced nearby, while Captain Hastings adjusted his tie, his expression a mix of anticipation and unease. "The reconstruction, mes amis," Poirot announced, his voice clear and deliberate. "It is the moment to bring order to chaos. We shall retrace the night of Monsieur Grayson's death, step by step, to see what the shadows reveal. Monsieur Jenkins, he has given us a thread. Hammond's return at 11:15. Now, we weave it into the tapestry." Japp nodded, his face set with determination. "I've got Jenkins and Hammond coming in. Lady Vane's alibi at the Savoy checks out. 6 witnesses confirm she was there past midnight. But Hammond's story's got holes, especially now we know he came back." Hastings frowned, his mind grappling with the puzzle. If Hammond was in the safe at 11:15, he could have shot Grayson and taken the star. But how did he lock the safe and get out without Jenkins seeing him leave? Poirot's moustache twitched, a spark of insight in his eyes. "That, Hastings, is the heart of the enigma. The safe, it is soundproof, its lock a marvel. Yet the killer, they have made it speak of impossibility. Let us begin." Jenkins arrived first. his burly frame filling the doorway, his weathered face drawn with the weight of his confession. He stood stiffly, his eyes avoiding the safe, as if it were a judge's bench. Poirot gestured for him to approach, his tone gentle, but commanding. "Monsieur Jenkins," Poirot said, "you will guide us through your rounds on the night of the murder. Show us precisely where you were, what you saw, from 11 to midnight. Leave nothing out." Jenkins nodded, his voice low. "Started my 11 o'clock round at the front door, checking the locks. All secure. Moved to the back entrance, then the windows. Everything was in order. At 11:15, I was near the counter when I saw Mr. Hammond come back through the staff entrance. He didn't see me. I was in the shadows by the display cases." Poirot's eyes narrowed, and he went directly to the safe. "Yes, sir," Jenkins replied. Used his key, went in. Door closed behind him. I figured he was talking to Mr. Grayson, so I continued my round. Didn't think to check again till 11:30 when I passed the safe. It was locked, no sound. I moved on. Poirot gestured to the staff entrance, a narrow door tucked behind a velvet curtain. "Show us, monsieur. Walk the path you took." Jenkins led them through the shop, his heavy steps retracing his route. He paused by the counter, pointing to the shadowed corner where he'd stood. "Here, sir. I saw Mr. Hammond from this spot. He didn't look my way. Went straight to the safe." Poirot followed, his cane tapping softly as he examined the sightline. "You were unseen, oui? And the safe, it is just there." He pointed to the steel door, barely 10 feet away. 5 minutes, you said. He was inside. Then what?" Jenkins shrugged, his cap twisting in his hands. "He came out, locked the door, and left through the staff entrance again. I was by the back window then, checking the alarm. Didn't think much of it till I found Mr. Grayson at midnight." Poirot nodded, his mind cataloguing each detail. "Merci, Monsieur Jenkins. You may step aside for now." As Jenkins retreated, Victor Hammond entered, his sharp features taut with strain. His grey eyes flicked between Poirot and Japp, a flicker of defiance masking his unease. "What's this about, Poirot? I've told you everything. I left at 11, as Jenkins confirmed." Poirot's smile was polite but unyielding. "Not everything, Monsieur Hammond. Jenkins has revealed a truth you omitted. You returned at 11:15, entered the safe with your key, and left after 5 minutes. Why, I ask, did you conceal this?" Hammond's face paled, his hands clenching at his sides. "That's nonsense. I didn't come back. Jenkins is mistaken, or lying." Poirot raised a hand, his voice calm but piercing. "No, monsieur. The guard's fear, it kept him silent, but his eyes did not lie. You were in the safe with Monsieur Grayson at the hour of his death. Let us reconstruct this moment. You will show us." Hammond hesitated, his jaw working as if chewing on a retort. Then, with a curt nod, he strode to the safe, producing his key with a trembling hand. "Fine, I'll humor you. But I wasn't here." Poirot gestured to the safe's door. "Proceed, monsieur. Enter, as you did that night." Hammond unlocked the safe, the heavy door swinging open with a soft groan. He stepped inside, his movements stiff, as Poirot, Japp, and Hastings followed. The interior was as before. Velvet shelves, the workbench with its tools, the sketch of the necklace still in place. Poirot's eyes swept the space, noting every detail. "You entered," Poirot said, his voice echoing in the steel chamber. "Monsieur Grayson was here, working. You spoke, perhaps argued. Then a shot, silent to the world outside. The star of Lahore, it vanishes. The safe is locked. How, Monsieur Hammond, did you achieve this? Hammond's voice rose, sharp with indignation. I didn't! I wasn't here! You're building a fantasy on a guard's shaky memory. Poirot's gaze was unrelenting. A fantasy? No, sequence. The payment of £5,000, the audit Monsieur Grayson planned, your return to the safe. These are not fantasies, but facts. You shot Grayson, took the star, and locked the safe to delay discovery. The time lock, it was your ally, oui? Hammond's face flushed, his voice a snarl. You've no proof, no gun, no gem, just a guard's word against mine. Japp stepped forward, his tone grim. We're tracing that payment, Hammond. The bank records are coming. If it leads to offence, you're done for. Poirot raised a hand, his voice soft but commanding. Patience, Inspector. The proof, it will come. Monsieur Hammond, you plan to sell the star, to fund your ambitions. Grayson's audit threatened to expose your dealings. You acted with precision and cunning. Hammond backed away, his eyes wild. You're mad, Poirot. I loved Alistair like a brother. I'd never— Enough, Poirot said, his voice cutting through the protest. The truth. It is near. We shall find the star and the gun, and your lies will crumble. As they left the safe, Japp muttered, He's cracking, Poirot. That payment's the key. If we find where it went, we've got him. Hastings, trailing behind, shook his head. It's so neat, Poirot, but the locked safe. How did he get out without Jenkins seeing him again? Poirot's eyes gleamed, reflecting the shop's dim light. The safe, Hastings, is a stage. And the killer, a magician. The trick is in the timing, the misdirection. We shall find the answer. But first, we must follow the money. The shop fell silent as they stepped into the street, the mist curling around them like a conspirator. The reconstruction had tightened the noose, and Poirot's little grey cells were closing in on the truth of the midnight vault. Chapter 12. The final proof. The late afternoon light filtered through the mist, casting a ghostly glow over Bond Street, as Hercule Poirot, Captain Hastings, and Inspector Japp stood outside Grayson's jewellers. The shop, its shutters drawn tight, seemed to hold its breath, as if aware that the final act of the drama was about to unfold. Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of polished wood and the faint echo of tragedy. The great steel safe, a silent witness to the truth Poirot was determined to unveil. The investigation had reached its crescendo, and Poirot's little grey cells were poised to weave the final threads of the tapestry. Poirot, his small frame radiating quiet authority, turned to Japp. Inspector, the bank records, have they revealed the destination of Monsieur Hammond's payment? Japp, his notebook bristling with notes, nodded grimly. Came through an hour ago. The £5,000 went to a private account in Zurich, linked to a known gem fence, a chap named Duval. We've got men coordinating with the Swiss authorities, but it's a clear sign. Hammond was planning to move the Star of Lahore. Hastings, his eyes wide with excitement, clapped his hands. That's it, Poirot. Hammond paid Duval to fence the gem. He killed Grayson to cover his tracks and locked the safe to throw us off. But where's the proof? The star? The gun? Poirot's moustache twitched, his green eyes gleaming with certainty. The proof, Hastings. It is near. The safe. It was not merely a tomb, but a stage for misdirection. We must search where the killer believes we will not look. Inspector, I request an immediate search of Monsieur Hammond's home. Not the obvious places, but the clever ones. Japp snapped his fingers, signalling a constable. Right, Poirot. I'll get a warrant and a team to Hammond's flat. If he's hidden the star or the gun, we'll turn the place upside down." Poirot raised a hand, his voice calm but commanding. "Not upside down, Inspector. With precision. A man like Hammond, he is meticulous. He hides his treasures in plain sight, where they blend with the ordinary." The trio, accompanied by 2 constables, arrived at Hammond's modest but elegant flat in Bloomsbury. The rooms were orderly, with shelves of ledgers and gem catalogues, a reflection of Hammond's business-like mind. Poirot moved with purpose, his cane tapping softly as he surveyed the space. He paused by a mahogany desk, its surface bare save for a silver inkstand and a few papers. "Here," Poirot said, his gloved fingers tracing the desk's edge. "A man who plans a crime does not leave evidence in the open. But he keeps it close. Look for the hidden, the subtle." Japp's men searched methodically, checking drawers, cabinets, and even the seams of cushions. Poirot, however, knelt by the desk, his fingers probing its underside. A faint click rewarded his efforts, and a small panel sprang open, revealing a concealed compartment. Inside lay a velvet pouch and a small polished revolver, its barrel gleaming faintly in the lamplight. "Voilà," Poirot said, his voice triumphant. He opened the pouch, and the star of Lahore tumbled into his palm, a sapphire of breathtaking depth, its facets catching the light like a captured midnight. The revolver, recently cleaned but bearing the faint scent of gunpowder, was a damning companion. Japp's jaw dropped, his notebook forgotten. "Blimey, Poirot, you've done it. The star and the gun right under our noses." Hastings, his face alight with admiration, shook his head. "How did you know, Poirot? A hidden compartment. Pure genius." Poirot's smile was modest but knowing. "Not genius, Hastings. Method. A man like Hammond, he plans with care. The desk, it is his sanctum, the place where he plots his ambitions. The compartment, it is his secret vault." Japp took the revolver, examining it carefully. "Looks like a match for the bullet we found in Grayson. We'll test it. But I'd bet my badge it's the one." Poirot nodded, slipping the star back into its pouch. "And now, mes amis, we confront the killer. Summon Monsieur Hammond to the shop. The stage is set for the final act." An hour later, Victor Hammond stood in the main room of Grayson's jewellers, his sharp features pale and drawn. The safe loomed behind him, its open door a silent accusation. Poirot stood before him, the velvet pouch and revolver in his hands, his expression one of serene certainty. "Monsieur Hammond," Poirot began, his voice a blade of precision, "the game is over. The star of Lahore, the weapon that killed Monsieur Grayson. They have been found in your hidden compartment. The payment to Duval, the fence, it confirms your plan to sell the gem. You returned at 11:15, entered the safe, shot Grayson, and took the star. You locked the door, knowing the time lock would delay discovery, and left, unseen by Jenkins, who was distracted by his rounds." Hammond's eyes widened, his voice a hoarse croak. "You can't prove that. I wasn't—" Poirot raised a hand, silencing him. "The proof, it speaks. The revolver, it will match the bullet. The star, it bears your guilt. Grayson's audit threatened to expose your dealings. The payment to Duval, the plans for expansion you funded in secret. You killed him to silence him, to secure your future." Hammond's shoulders slumped, his defiance crumbling like ash. I had no choice," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Alistair was going to ruin everything. The audit would have found the money I'd moved, the deals I'd made. The star was my way out, a new start abroad. I didn't mean to kill him. It just happened. Japp stepped forward, handcuffs in hand. Victor Hammond, you're under arrest for the murder of Alistair Grayson and the theft of the Star of Lahore. As the constables led Hammond away, his head bowed, Hastings turned to Poirot, his eyes wide with awe. You've done it again, Poirot. The locked safe, the missing gem. It seemed impossible, but you saw through it all. Poirot's smile was faint, his gaze lingering on the safe. The impossible, Hastings, is merely the truth in disguise. The little grey cells, they see the order beneath the chaos. Hammond's greed, it was his undoing, and the safe, it was his illusion. The shop fell silent, the mist outside curling against the windows like a fading curtain. The midnight vault had yielded its secrets, and Hercule Poirot, with his unerring logic, had brought the truth to light.